a damning Benghazi report.
Nothing could have reached Benghazi because nothing was ever headed to Benghazi.
The attack ended. No military assets were headed towards Benghazi. But what did start before the attack was over was the political spin.
It wasn't about a YouTube video. It wasn't about a bunch of folks out for a walk.
They're as concerned, actually more concerned, about whether they're going to be offending the Libyan government by how it is that this rescue is proposed to take place than whether the rescue is actually successful.
Now they got a terrorist attack, and they have to mislead the American people because it's 56 days before an election.
This was attacked by radical Islamic terrorists on an American facility.
In the end, it was political concerns that drove this. The evidence strongly shows that. And that's what we outline in our report.
The GOP-led Benghazi Select Committee releasing its report on its investigation into the deadly 2012 Benghazi attack. The report slamming the Obama administration for a range of missteps before, during, and after the attack. And the report says then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton should have known about the impending threats. Benghazi committee member, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan is here to go on the record. Nice to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Greg.
Okay, right. I think that bothers me going through the report is that night, September 11th, Secretary Clinton emails her daughter Chelsea and says it's an Al-Qaeda affiliate. The next day, she says, which is the 12th, she says to the Prime Minister of Egypt, we know that the attack in Libya had nothing to do with the film. Despite that, You've got 4 days later, you've got the Ambassador Rice, UN ambassador, that's going on the 5 shows saying it's a video. President Obama says Univision television on September 20th, it's a video. And he goes on The View the 25th and says the video. And so what's going on?
They had 2 different stories. Privately, they told the truth. Publicly, they misled the American people.
Why?
Politics. I mean, why did we stay in Benghazi when everyone else was leaving? Almost everyone else had left Benghazi. Why did we stay? Because they were so invested in this crowning achievement that Libya is how you do it. No boots on the ground. Arab Spring, oust the dictator. We're going to stay there in spite of, as Mr. Graham pointed out, Senator Graham pointed out, in spite of the guy who said it's a suicide mission to go into Benghazi. So they stayed there, and then when the attack happened, during the attack, they're worried about all kinds of things. You can't have people going in uniform, so they're worried about politics during the attack. They were worried about politics before the attack. Political concerns drove the decisions there. And then after, they told 2 stories. Privately, they told the truth. Publicly, they misled the American people. And why? Because we're 56 days before an election.
Okay, 2 things. I understand the confusion as it happens. I mean, trying to figure out what you should do. In 2020 hindsight, it's really easy to find out what you should have done. What I don't understand is 2 weeks after, and you use the kind word misleading. I don't think that's misleading. I think that's a lie. I think it's deplorable. I think it's what in the world? What in the world is he telling us 2 weeks later that it's a video, trying to peddle that to the American people?
Again, they had their legacy on the line, and they had an election 56 days away. But you're right. A country as great as ours, our leaders, particularly at a moment like this, a crisis moment, they should be leveling with the American people and telling the story straight. They didn't. Think about where it started, though. It started before the attack was over. Remember, one of the things we found is we've been told no military assets could have got there in time. What we weren't told is no one intended to even get there in time. No assets took off until the attack was over. But what did start before the attack was over was the political spin, because at 10:08, that's when Secretary Clinton said, some have sought to justify this vicious behavior as a response to inflammatory material on the Internet. So she was referencing the video while Tyrone Woods is still on the roof of the annex fighting. That's where the narrative started before the attack was even over, and yet we have assets that were supposed to be deployed that weren't even taken off yet.
All right, that night, Benghazi, our chief diplomat, it appears, was running what was going on the ground at Benghazi, or she was in charge. Where in the world were the Secretary of Defense, since we were under attack, and the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States? Where were they the night of September 11th as this was going down?
One of the things we learned is Secretary Clinton didn't even talk to Secretary Panetta. They didn't even talk that night.
But he knew about it.
Of course he knew about it.
Well, then why didn't he step up? I mean, wasn't he the Secretary of Defense?
When we interviewed the Secretary of Defense, he said he gave the order around 6 o'clock to deploy.
And then what did he do, go home?
All I know is it didn't happen.
Where did the President?
It didn't happen in the time frame that it should have happened. Right, and we don't know where the President was. And we couldn't even get Secretary Clinton to, when we questioned her. When she talked with the President, all she would say is, I talked to him sometime that evening. What I wanted to know is, did you talk to him before the 10:08 statement or after the 10:08 statement? When did you talk to him? She couldn't remember.
I want to know, what's he doing? I mean, is he in charge? Is he in the Situation Room? Is he watching? I mean, that is the job of the Commander-in-Chief.
One of the things we point out is the contrast between when bin Laden was taken down, You have all those folks in the situation, all the key players in our government in the situation room watching that, versus what happened this night, where there seemed to be lack of communication at a critical moment.
All right, now take a look at how President Obama also took to national TV to push the video narrative. He did this 9 days after Benghazi, and again 14 days after Benghazi in The View, as I noted.
What we do know is that the natural protests that arose because of the outrage over the video were used as an excuse by extremists to see if they can also directly harm U.S. interests. Or, well, we don't know yet. And so we're going to continue to investigate this. We've insisted on and have received so far full cooperation from countries like Egypt and Libya and Tunisia in not only protecting our diplomatic posts, but also to make sure that we discover who, in fact, is trying to take advantage of this.
I heard Hillary Clinton say that it was an act of terrorism. Is it? What do you say?
Well, we're still doing an investigation. There's no doubt that the kind of weapons that were used, the ongoing assault, that it wasn't just a mob action. Now, we don't have all the information yet, and so we're still gathering it.
Congressman, what do you think when you watch that?
It's just wrong. The example we point to in what Mr. Pompeo and I put together in our report was on the 14th. The contrast couldn't be starker. You had Jay Carney doing the daily press briefing talking about there's no evidence to suggest this was pre-planned. That same day, you have the State Department official in Tripoli saying it was a well-planned attack. So not pre-planned versus well-planned.
Okay,
Couldn't be sharper contrast.
All right, so there's incompetence and there's deceit. Which is it?
Misleading. You say
misleading. I don't. You're nice about it. You say misleading. You know, I don't.
They misled the American people, and it's clear, and that is wrong for people in our government. And this is the United States of America. People in our government. One of the hallmarks of our government is people are the leaders are transparent with the citizens, and they were not.
I just want to explain why. I mean, why did I want to know why did?
Right, it's obvious. It's politics. I mean, when you're 50, remember what Sidney Blumenthal said to Secretary Clinton. Help the goddess of history after they throw out Gaddafi. Help the goddess of help Cleo. So you got the goddess of history looking over your shoulder. You got your legacy on the line, and you're 8 weeks before an election. And the narrative has been GM's alive, Bin Laden's dead. Of course they're going to mislead the American people, and that's what they did. And they did it for a sustained period of time.
Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.